I wanted to go back to a conversation that broke out in the middle of Weekend Observations, Stugotz, because we were talking last week as the Washington Post put out these stories on Ja Morant. The reason I want to talk about this is through the construct of the league's older guys, older stories. A league that thrives on stories is the social media league. They need young stars.
They do.
Kevin Durant is now going to Phoenix, and Kevin Durant is I noticed this, and I just caught part of his interview a while ago with David Letterman, and it was weird to see him smile. Like, legitimately strange to be like, oh, that's what the smile looks like. I hadn't realized that for as much as he talks about joy in basketball, and he does love to play basketball, his last few years have been joyless, and they've turned the league upside down. What brings it back? A young, light guy. Looks frail. How is he dunking on everybody? How do I appeal to young people with this sport? Now he's 23, and the league has to look different. Shaq and Charles are complaining about everybody now. They sound like your grandparents. Like they're complaining about everybody. They're the voice of the most popular show. Telling you, hey, load management. Charles is telling everybody. They're not steel mill workers. He's not wrong. $60 million a year. Ja is going to be the biggest in that sport if he wins, because he doesn't do it the way Steph does. Oh, no, he's going among the Giants now, and he's dunking on everybody. But what's he doing on the internet? Like, why are you in the middle of that at 23 years old? Because I don't want to underestimate him. I don't want to dismiss him as a dummy. I don't want to get consumed by the stereotypes that he plays to when he's trying to give off gangster. But what's he doing? Like, I ask.
I think a lot of people would say, I don't know if they would call him a dummy. They would say what he is doing is dumb. What he is doing is jeopardizing hundreds of millions of dollars and his future.
But is he, though? Because he's behaving like somebody.
He absolutely is.
But Stugotz, he's behaving like someone who's above the rules, and he's getting a couple of games for waving a gun or an indefinite.
Well, it's indefinite now.
It's now indefinite, but I just ask you, when marketing to young people in a new age that I can't possibly understand, the TikTok generation, I'm out on all of that. What makes things popular to kids? I don't have any access to it. But once upon a time, this made Allen Iverson popular to kids. All of whatever that was that we didn't think was posturing, that we thought it was authentic Iverson, that he can't play within the rules. Like, he's going to be more amazing than everybody else, but man, he was going to take the league from Jordan.
But doesn't Ja's play make him popular with kids? Like, just the way he plays the game, the aggressive, hard-nature way, the dunks over tall people. Doesn't that stuff make him popular with kids, or this makes him popular with more kids? I don't know.
I don't know if it makes him popular, but it makes him more part of the conversation, which increases his profile, and he's got edge to him. Edge that hopefully remains at what this is, which is a manageable controversy, a dumb one nonetheless, but it's manageable, and no one's gotten too hurt so far.
But, Mike, I never looked at Ja Morant and said, there's a guy who doesn't have an edge. That guy has edge.
Yeah, maybe you're...
Like, he plays with an edge.
Yeah, he plays with an edge, but now he's got the off-court stuff, and gives off... Not only is his play dangerous, but he might be dangerous.
And Dylan Brooks is being quoted, Stugotz, in Memphis. Memphis has been going back and forth at Golden State. When I talk about storylines, I talk about stories you've gotten tired of. The Golden State Warriors are petering out. Do they have... The only story left on the Golden State Warriors are, do they get extinguished right now? Right. Or can they somehow summon whatever championship thing is required to get over a lot of teams that seem to be a good deal better than them this year? Mm-hmm. They've been going back and forth with Memphis. Dylan Brooks says of Draymond Green, don't like him at all, and if you took him out of Golden State, he's nice there, but if you took him out of Golden State, he'd be a nobody. Memphis is real chatty. They are a young team. They're fighting with Shannon Sharp. They don't want to be your grandpa's team. Golden State keeps telling them, we got 4, holding 4 fingers in their face. Young ones, you're not ready for any of this. We've got 4, you've got none. It's true now. But this team, if it's doing laser pointers, chasing the Pacers, like what's happening in Memphis when a team that we know is on the rise and a star we know is on the rise.
And a team that leans into their identity, has been for several years over there. The grindhouse, hard-nosed, like we'll get under your skin. They'll play whoop that trick at their arenas. Like they kind of lean into this identity, and Ja Morant on the court has embodied that Memphis grindhouse culture. And now off the court, it's a profile that is dangerous. He does come off as this is a whole cool down period. Like quit being dangerous. What are you doing waving a gun around? There's a bit of menace. You're beating people up. I think if he gets out ahead of it, because he certainly has a load to lose. He is discussed as next face of the league type stuff because he's so brilliant on the court and because of how he goes about being brilliant. It's such a cool way to do it. I really hope he doesn't continue going down this path because it's already altering his career some.
Dillon Brooks, it has not yet. It is not. It doesn't. To date, this costs him nothing.
Right. I mean, it's cost him games.
Cost him games right now.
But I'm talking about benefit of the doubt. Whatever the punishments are, Mike's right. The currency now is attention. The currency is how do you, when you keep birthing power, whether it's Kyrie Irving or Kevin Durant or the next guy who's coming, Ja Durant must feel in Memphis like a god, making that team matter, playing that way. You think sports is us against the world? Go ahead and put that team in Memphis and see how all of that feels, because they don't get to matter like that in sports. Unless it's Zach Randolph, one of their most beloved players with an attitude, a style, regional identity. Memphis goes hard. And this team, as a representative for Memphis, wants to fight you. Dillon Brooks shows up to the games dressed like Stone Cold from the Field Austin. Like he's wearing a vest and shirtless, and he wants to fight people, and he tells you out loud he doesn't want anything. He's like, I don't like Draymond Green. Wouldn't be anything anywhere else. Who does that? How much of that disrespect are you getting as a four-time champion? These guys want that stuff. All they've done is talk so far. They haven't won anything, and Ja got hurt, but the guy who leads them is a basketball menace. And now's the time that you build these stories. You know how much we're going to be talking about this if he starts winning games at the end during the playoffs? Like the season of Ja Morant, the controversial season of Ja Morant, who's not yesterday's star. He's not Steph Curry. That's not what he's selling.
No, he's going to the rim and he's throwing down dunks on guys who are a lot taller.
But it's not what he's selling elsewhere either. He's not.
Of course.
He's not.
Not even close.
He's not selling Steph. Man,
he doesn't want to sell.
I mean,
that.
he sort of was though up until the whole idea of him. In this incident with the 17-year-old that came over to his house, it was born out of the fact that apparently Ja Morant is so involved in the community that up-and-coming basketball stars in the Memphis area get his attention, and it's sort of like a crowning moment. Hey, come over and play in my game that I have in my house. It was kind of born out of wanting to be involved in the community. He has the 6th highest selling jersey in the NBA as of January of this year. He's a very popular figure in the NBA. And kind of had a very squeaky clean reputation until these incidents started coming out. Amin came on the show and said, hey, there's kind of whispers around Ja Morant, around the league, about and cited other precedent. And all of a sudden now his reputation completely flipped in 4 months. He was kind of bravado, and his quote of the year beyond what's happening right now was, we don't have any problems in the West. Basically saying, we feel like we're going to run through the West. Our problem is Milwaukee and Boston. And then since then, they've kind of been bad, and the Shannon Sharp thing happened, and then they're even worse after that. But his reputation was not really this until this happened. And I don't think this is by design either. I think this is something of a secret life that has spilled into the public.
He's 23 years old, and I don't know if there had been, I heard somebody say this, but I had not verified it for myself, so I don't know if there have been interventions on this happened with Iverson, Stugotz, because it's become now, the conversation has become about the crowd that Ja Morant is hanging around with and who are family members, and you got Shannon Sharp lecturing him on television. Shannon Sharp, the same guy who tried to fight them, lecturing him on television about you're not this person that you're pretending to be. Memphis Grizzlies, he wanted that wasn't professional wrestling. Theater, though it was, ridiculous though it was, Shannon Sharp tried to fight the Grizzlies earlier this year.
Right.
And got into a back and forth with.
Funny sentence.
It's unbelievable, really. I mean, we just sort of skipped right past it. But on the resume of incidents this year for the Memphis Grizzlies is trying to fight Shannon Sharp courtside at a Laker game. As Memphis tries to wrestle the league away from LeBron, too. Like, this is at the heart of sports, Stugotz, and the heart of sports storylines. Memphis would be a really cool story if you could get behind the idea that they seem to not mind being villainous as
they actively seek it out
as a team. And
feels forced though, right?
Well,
a little bit.
I mean, and what they're doing to the Warriors is
there is a cultural identity with Memphis to the hip hop. If you watch their games in the arena, Memphis does have an edge to it, and that team, for as long as we can remember, has kind of embodied that on the court. That's always been their identity and style. And the more, it's kind of like iron sharpens iron. The more you lean into that, the further you go down that path.